Loki has been hiding in one piece for years. At first, he sounded like a joke. The giant prince Lola refused to marry. A strange background detail from Thriller Bark. Big Mom wanted the marriage, Lola ran away, and everyone moved on. But One Piece doesn't usually waste royal names. Now that the story has reached Elbaph, Loki is no longer just a rejected fiancé. He's the Accursed Prince. A royal giant chained in the underworld with sea stone restraints. A man accused of killing his own father. A prince tied to a legendary devil fruit passed down through the royal family. And somehow, someone who claims to be the sun god who will bring an end to the world. So how did a marriage gag become one of the strangest mysteries of the Final Saga? This is the complete history of Loki. Back on Thriller Bark, Lola explains that she ran away from an arranged marriage. Her mother, Big Mom, had tried to marry her into Elbaph's royal family. The groom was Prince Loki. At the time, this mostly tells us about Lola. She wants love on her own terms. She'd rather sail away and anger Big Mom than be forced into a political match. But from Big Mom's side, the marriage was enormous. Elbaph isn't just another island. It's the homeland of the giants, the strongest warrior race in the world. Big Mom has wanted giant power since childhood. An alliance with Elbaph would give her something even her massive family couldn't easily replace: the military prestige of the giants. That means Loki wasn't random. He was valuable enough that Big Mom saw him as a route into one of the world's most powerful nations. And that's the first strange thing about him. Loki enters the story as a missing groom, but the shadow behind him is political. His marriage could have changed the balance of power in the new world. So when Lola runs, she does more than reject a prince. She helps break Big Mom's chance at Elbaph. Loki's first appearance in the story is absence. We don't see his face, we don't hear his voice. But his position is already clear. He's royalty in a kingdom everyone wants. And somehow, being connected to him is dangerous enough for Lola to escape. To understand Loki, we've to put him inside Elbaph's royal line. His father is King Harald, ruler of Elbaph. Harald represents the old giant kingdom, the throne, the traditions, the warrior culture, and the political decisions that shape how Elbaph deals with the outside world. Loki's mother is Queen Estrid. That makes Loki the recognized prince born from the king and queen, the royal son positioned close to the center of succession. But there is another important name in the family: Hajrudin. Hajrudin is Harald's older son from another mother, Ida. That makes Hajrudin Loki's older half-brother. Ida also becomes Loki's foster mother, which immediately makes the family structure more complicated than a clean royal portrait. Hajrudin and Loki are almost perfect contrasts. Hajrudin leaves Elbaph, fights in the Kurita Colosseum, allies himself with Luffy, and later leads the new giant warrior pirates. He's proud, direct, and obsessed with restoring giant glory. He feels like the public, heroic version of Elbaph's future. He's the prince people whisper about, the one tied to a failed marriage, royal scandal, murder, a forbidden power, and chains beneath the kingdom. That contrast matters. One brother goes into the world and earns allies. The other is buried under Elbaph as a threat. From the beginning, Loki's history isn't just personal. It's a family crisis, a succession crisis, and a question about what kind of future Elbaph is trying to hide. The title that follows Loki is brutal: the Accursed Prince. In One Piece, nicknames are rarely casual. They're how the world turns people into legends, monsters, or warnings. Straw Hat, Surgeon of Death, Heavenly Demon. A name becomes a public story. Accursed Prince tells us that Elbaph doesn't simply see Loki as a criminal. It sees him as something polluted. The official accusation is huge. Loki killed King Harald. Not only that, giants say he did it to obtain a legendary devil fruit passed down through the royal family. That isn't a small crime. It's patricide, treason, theft, and sacrilege, all wrapped into one. If true, Loki didn't just murder his father. He attacked the symbolic heart of Elbaph, the king, the royal line, and the inherited power of the crown. That's why this accusation lands differently from a normal villain backstory. In many kingdoms, killing the king would be treated as a political crime. In Elbaph, it cuts into identity. Giants build their pride around open strength, loyalty, old vows, and warrior honor. A prince murdering his father for power isn't just shameful, it's an insult to everything the kingdom tells itself it stands for. That means Loki's name becomes useful as a warning. Parents can point to him as what happens when royal ambition turns rotten. Warriors can use him as proof that dishonor must be crushed before it infects the country. The throne can turn him into a reason to tighten control. Whether Loki is guilty or not, the story of Loki becomes politically powerful. That's why the response is so extreme. The full might of Elbaph's warriors was needed to subdue him. This detail is easy to skip past, but it's one of the biggest warnings in his story. Elbaph is the land of giants. Its warriors are already terrifying by default. If it took the kingdom's combined strength to bring Loki down, then Loki isn't simply a disgraced prince. He's a disaster-level threat. That's important. If Elbaph believed Loki was only a murderer, death would be the clean solution. Instead, they chain him, they bury him in the Underworld, they restrain him with sea stone, the same material used to suppress devil fruit users. That suggests two things at once. First, Loki is too dangerous to leave free. Second, Loki may be too important to kill. The devil fruit at the center of Loki's story is one of the biggest unknowns. We don't yet have every detail about what it does, but we know enough to understand why it matters. It's legendary. It's tied to Elbaph's royal family, and Loki is accused of killing Harald to obtain it. In One Piece, a fruit connected to a royal line is never just a superpower, it's a symbol. The giants are famous for raw physical strength. They aren't introduced as a nation that needs hidden tricks or secret weapons. Their bodies are already weapons. Their ships, weapons, and duels all make the same statement. Power should be visible, honest, and earned. So a royal devil fruit creates tension. If Elbaph's crown preserves a legendary fruit, then even the proudest warrior nation has a secret source of power behind the throne. That doesn't make Elbaph hypocritical, but it does make the royal family more complicated. They may preach strength while guarding something older, stranger, and maybe much more dangerous than a normal giant's axe. For Loki, that means the fruit isn't just temptation, it's inheritance. It's proof that the royal line carries a burden the rest of the kingdom may not fully understand. Think about how the Nika fruit reshapes the world's understanding of Luffy. Think about how ancient weapons aren't merely weapons, but keys to erased history and world control. Power in One Piece is usually political. It changes who gets to define truth. So if Elbaph has a royal devil fruit, it may represent more than combat strength. It may connect to the kingdom's mythology, its idea of kingship, or its relationship to the sun god legend. That's where Loki becomes frightening. He claims to be the sun god who will bring an end to the world. That line can be read in several ways. It might be madness. It might be arrogance. It might be manipulation. But in the Final Saga, after everything we've learned about Nika, Joy Boy, and false gods sitting above the world, no sun god claim can be ignored. Luffy carries the power connected to Nika, the liberating sun god. Loki claims a sun god identity that sounds apocalyptic. That contrast is the core of why Loki matters. He may be a dark mirror to Luffy, another figure wrapped in sun mythology, but associated with fear, imprisonment, and the end of the world instead of freedom. When Luffy meets Loki, he isn't sitting on a throne. He's chained in Elbaph's underworld. The image is powerful. A giant prince hidden beneath the land of giants, restrained with sea stone, cut off from the kingdom above him. Elbaph doesn't display Loki as a defeated criminal. It hides him like a secret. That makes his imprisonment feel bigger than punishment. It feels like containment. Elbaph is proud. It values honor, strength, and open combat. So locking a prince away in the dark isn't a normal warrior culture solution. It's what a kingdom does when the truth is too dangerous, the prisoner is too powerful, or the official story isn't enough. And Loki's own behavior keeps the mystery alive. He doesn't present himself like a broken man begging for mercy. He talks like someone who still believes he has a role to play. He calls himself the sun god. He speaks in world-ending terms. Whether he's lying, delusional, or telling a warped version of the truth, he clearly doesn't see himself as finished. That's what makes his meeting with Luffy so charged. Luffy isn't a judge, a giant elder, or a royal guard. He's the one person in the world most likely to hear a prisoner speak and ask a simple question. Is this guy actually free? Or is everybody just scared of him? But that doesn't mean Loki is safe. Luffy has freed people before, but he doesn't free them because they're harmless. He frees them because cages are suspicious in a world built on control. Loki forces that instinct into a dangerous place. If Luffy listens to him, he may uncover the truth of Elbaph. If he trusts him too easily, he may unleash exactly what the giants feared. That's the danger of Loki. He isn't just the past of Elbaph. He's a locked door inside its future. If that door opens, every old accusation comes back with him. Harald's death, the royal fruit, Hajrudin's place in the family, Ida's role as foster mother, and the question of whether Elbaph chained a monster or created one. Loki matters because Elbaph is no longer distant background lore. For years, the Island of Giants was one of One Piece's biggest promises. Dory and Brogy gave us the first taste. Usopp's dream kept pointing toward it. Big Mom's flashback showed how deeply Elbaph shaped her life. Hajrudin tied the Giants to Luffy's wider alliance. Now the story is finally there, and Loki sits at the center of its royal problem. He connects almost every major Elbaph thread. Through Lola, he connects to Big Mom and the Broken Marriage Alliance. Through Harald and Estrid, he connects to the throne. Through Hajrudin and Ida, he connects to the split royal family. Through the legendary Devil Fruit, he connects to inherited power and giant mythology. Through the Sun God claim, he connects to Mika, Luffy, and the Final Saga's biggest religious symbolism. And through his chains, he connects to the oldest One Piece question of all. Who gets called a monster? And who benefits from that story? Loki may still become an enemy. He may be dangerous, cruel, and guilty of everything Elbaph says. But One Piece has trained us to distrust simple labels. A person called cursed may be cursed by his own choices, or by a world that needed someone to blame. Loki isn't just the evil prince. He's a test for Elbaph. If the Giants are proud warriors, can they face the truth buried under their kingdom? If Luffy is a liberator, what happens when the prisoner he finds might actually be terrifying? And if two different figures are wrapped in sun god imagery, which one represents freedom and which one represents destruction? So Loki's complete history so far is a transformation. He begins as the unseen prince Lola refused to marry. He becomes the royal son of Harald and Estrid, half-brother to Hajrudin, foster son of Ida, and heir to a kingdom with enormous political weight. Then he becomes the Accursed Prince, accused of murdering his father for a legendary royal devil fruit. Finally, he becomes the chained giant beneath Elbaph, claiming to be the sun god who will end the world. That's an incredible journey for a character who started as a background joke. And the scariest part is that we still don't know which version of Loki is closest to the truth. Is he a murderer, a victim, a false god, or the key to Elbaph's buried history? What do you think Loki really is?